Yes, I think when we ask this question, you know, the question really comes to mind: safe and inclusive cities for who? Who are we talking about here? And so there are large differences between how a city could be safe or not safe when it comes to different age groups, when it comes to race, ethnicity, differences in social class, in gender especially. And so I think when we understand in more nuanced ways how experiences of violence and nonviolence occur in the lives of men and women, we're also looking at their family members, of community members, and how that plays out on a daily basis. Then we can create public policies that reflect those realities and that are based on lived experiences of men and women in different parts of those cities, those who are at most risk, and bring those to public policy decision makers.
So a safe and inclusive city is one where people, residents, citizens feel that government is on their side, that it's concerned with their well-being and their interests, that they don't have to be part of an elite or some type of in-group in order to have their interests attended to.
Une ville sécuritaire et inclusive, c'est une ville dans laquelle chaque citoyen ou chaque groupe de citoyens a la possibilité d'initier et de mener de façon pérenne des activités économiques sans être inquiété par des gangs ou des acteurs qui pourraient éventuellement mettre fin à leurs efforts par l'acquisition ou par des formes de violence.
I think, first of all, it would be a city that recognizes all of its inhabitants as citizens that have a right to the city, and I think inclusive is strongly linked to access to, you know, basic services, access to education, health, economic opportunities, and maybe inclusiveness would be also giving the opportunity to urban citizens or to citizens to be actively part in planning and decision making in the future development of their communities.
Bueno, yo creo que una ciudad segura e inclusiva significa varias cosas. Primero, una ciudad menos desigual. Y en segundo lugar, un acceso relativamente parecido a los bienes públicos que la ciudad ofrece. Y en tercer lugar, políticas de seguridad pública protectoras más que represivas.
Safe and inclusive city is one that where everybody has access to opportunity, where there's equitable transport provided, where people of all generations and all social classes use the same public space. And it's one without high security walls and private security companies, in my mind.
But the point is that even for the areas, or what you call the high-class areas, I mean, if you go there, what you see is quite clear. You see all these high walls, people putting on barbed wires and so on for the fear of the unknown coming from elsewhere. So even though in the high-class area, it's possible to sort of shield yourself from physical harm, the psychological trauma and the fear that individuals go through, which is quite exhibited in terms of the architecture, is quite clear. So we are all in it.
We, in that process, forget that cities are habitats for people, that people live in, that cities are for the people and not for infrastructure. And if we bring that sensitivity in the urban policy making, that you need to make cities where they are habitable for people of various income groups, various social backgrounds, new migrants coming in the cities, women, particularly of the poor communities, then I think we would be able to address the question, make cities more inclusive and address the question of violence.
One of the major issues which would arise is issues of accessibility. It is also about issues of having dignity, of being able to move around in public space and being treated with dignity, of having the sense that one can move safely without danger of being taken advantage of.
But I think that there are notions of integration by class. There's a notion of community looking out for your security, as in a matter of speaking. And through that, perhaps reducing the kind of alienation that seems to have become the hallmark of contemporary urbanism.
To be able to feel safe to move out on the streets at any hour of the day for your necessity without feeling threatened. The presence of fear in one's life can be more destabilizing at times than the actual incidents of violence. And so for me, if we are thinking of safe cities for women, we should be able to create an environment which is free of the fear and insecurity of violence.
And I think it's about moving safely. I think it's about access to the basic resources. I think it's about community support and not feeling isolated. And even in these very overcrowded spaces, that we have people lack all of those securities very often. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah. For me, as a woman and someone who works with women, I look at a safe city as a place where women can walk freely. Right now, our cities are not free for women. Women are being arrested for just walking in the night. And we are deemed prostitutes. And so for us, a safe city is where we can be women, where we can access all the resources, including water, including electricity. Women are being raped because they are going to fetch for firewood in a city. And so it's a city, it's a safe city where women can access all the basic services. It's a city where children and women can access food. It's a city where women don't have to prostitute themselves to access a bucket of water. It's a city where if a woman goes to a clinic, they are able to deliver safely. It's a city where women don't die while it's giving life. And for us, it's really about women feeling that they are also human beings. It's about laws being implemented without looking at the sex of the person.
Yo lo voy a formular en términos mucho más simplistas. Poder caminar en cualquier sitio a cualquier hora.
Si fuera una niña, de poder jugar, de poder transitar libremente, de poder sentir que convivo con los demás, no ser ofendida, no ser violentada, sentir que puedo ir a la escuela con tranquilidad, que en la escuela no voy a tener miedo a que me suceda algo por parte de mis compañeros, la maestra, etc.
Una ciudad segura es aquella donde uno pueda caminar a cualquier hora, por cualquier lado. Una ciudad inclusiva es donde las personas de distinto grupo social, de distinto color o religión, puedan encontrarse para hablar sus diferencias, para hacer unos sueños juntos.
And more especially, one can move freely within the city at any point in time, day and night, without fear of attack.
Regardless of where you live, whether you live in a favela or you're living in a upper middle class home, it's the ability to say that you can walk on the street, and whether you're a male or female, I mean, this whole issue of violence against women, etc. So I think the best encapsulation from my perspective is freedom of fear, from fear.
Je dirais spontanément que c'est une ville où tout le monde a la quiétude, hein, l'assurance qu'il peut se promener à n'importe quelle heure, de nuit comme de jour, sans être dans une situation d'angoisse. C'est une ville où tout le monde aurait la possibilité de trouver un degré d'épanouissement nécessaire. où tout le monde peut se dire qu'il a la paix et il peut être libre non seulement de circuler, mais d'exprimer ses opinions en toute indépendance, sans que cela ne puisse lui entraîner des conséquences du genre arrestation ou enlèvement, comme ce que l'on a connu par le passé.
I think it's more than simply an absence of violence. It's also an environment that is secure and that creates the conditions for people to realize their capabilities.
Well, in short, I would say that a safe and inclusive city is one where every person can walk around any time of day of the night, in every area of town, making use of that space and feeling as part of that space.
And this isn't simply about external security of being able to walk on the street anywhere in the city, but also within communities, the sense of safe communities and safe families, where a lot of our violence in South Africa is in the form of family violence, domestic violence, gender violence, and that is something that we also need to address, where there's deep cultural change or social fabric that needs to be addressed.